Hello and good afternoon. All right. So I hope you all had a very nice weekend. Nice and relaxing. Right before a very short week. Shorter for some than others. Some people might be taking more time off for, the holiday. But one thing about that, though, is definitely check in if you're flying anywhere, check into your flights. They're saying that there might be some delays. So the earlier you go, the better. There's just some weird weather patterns that are coming in. So that's just a heads up for anybody flying, if there is anybody in our group flying. But today I wanted to go over something. I was trying to look for something more definitive as to us and where we are, but as it comes to the mask mandates. Dun, dun, dun. So, masks are very good. They're keeping us safe. But I also know that they're not the funnest thing to have to wear all the time. So, I'm kind of getting used to it. And, actually, hold on one second. But at the same time, I would like to go back to, not having to wear a mask. Because I went for a hike the other day with somebody in our group, and we were hiking and kind of realized we're outside. We don't need to be smelling our own breath. So we took our masks off and then got to smell all these wonderful smells from outside on the hike, and it was nice. It's nice to actually smell the earth, as opposed to fabric. But I still think it's very important to keep us safe. So, all this being said, I looked up to see, specifically in California. So, and this has to do more with people that have been vaccinated. So, but this is for kids. But what I think is that, kids in school, it's kind of the same thing, not that we're kids here. But it's the same thing, like if we've been vaccinated, we're going to be, eventually like us, we're going to be inside an area together. And we're not going to be able to socially distance as well the more we open up. So and I think this will kind of tie into us a little bit, like whenever kids can actually stop wearing the masks, then I'm guessing that will start to affect us as a program. So this is why I put this together. So as we're vaccinated, I think if you're unvaccinated, you're still going to have to wear your mask. But if you're vaccinated, when will people be able to start taking off their masks? And again, this is for kids, but let's see what the class size is and everything. So it says California schools next month will wrap up their fourth semester amid the coronavirus pandemic. And yeah, oh man, I cut off part of my page. That's great. Well, let's see if we can get through it anyway. So the fourth semester among the pandemic children ages 5 to 11 soon will have to get vaccines to attend school. And that's what our program's pushing towards as well. By the end of December next month, you have to be vaccinated. So now some parents and doctors want to know what it'll take to lift California's school mask mandate. And like I said, I think that ties into us. So one doctor says California's children continue to endure greater in-school restriction than most states. It's because California, we want to make sure we're a big state and very populated. So children and their families see no end in sight to restrictions, as there are currently no guidelines to indicate when they will be loosened or retired. Over the summer, state officials, following guidance from the CDC, issued a universal indoor mask mandate for K through 12 schools. And the mandate was affirmed last month by Health and Human Services. So what they're saying right now is not the time to let our guard down, especially as the winter months approach. Dr. Gailey said in a joint statement with State Public Health Officer Dr. Tomas Aragon. Gailey and Aragon said that California will continue to monitor conditions through the winter. And this is important because what do people do when it gets cold? They huddle together. You know, especially with the holidays, and there's movies, and there's food, so people want to be all together, which is understandable, but not everybody's vaccinated, not everybody's honest about it, so we could have another surge, and we don't want that. So now is not the time to let our guard down. And be like, okay, well, all these people went out, and hung out with their families. We're not exactly sure, so let's bring them all back in together from all areas of all over California and throw them into a school together without a mask on. Probably not the safest thing. So, but then somebody said, well, that's not good enough, that they continue to monitor the conditions through the winter. It's not quantitative. It's not a metric. This person, Noble, says. I think it is a little bit condescending to just say through the winter and not giving people any insight into what numbers they're using to make those decisions. Parents want to know. But the numbers they're using, honestly, are going to be from the numbers they've used from even last winter. We had a giant surge. So it is quantitative, but I understand people are really tired of it. But at the same time, I think people living is much more important. When asked under what circumstances the state would lift its mask requirement for schools, CDPH directed the Sacramento Bee to an October 20th release, which said the state will consider vaccination coverage status, availability for vaccines for children, community case and hospitalization rates, outbreaks, and ongoing vaccine effectiveness against variants to guide K through 12 school operations. So really, once they can monitor who's been vaccinated and who's not, they're going to be able to move forward better that way. Things will become clearer. So, and that's with us too. We have to get those. We have to get accurate data. So, ongoing vigilance is critical to protect against COVID-19. This is particularly important for schools where many children are not vaccinated, Galen Aragon said on October 20th. Although infection rates are decreasing, more than 25 counties continue to experience high transmission, as classified by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, which is the CDPH, right? CDCP. California has issued some of the toughest COVID-19 restrictions in the nation, which, again, California really prides themselves on getting through things and getting through them safely, which is good. That's what I want. Earlier this year, in addition to mask mandates, Governor Newsom announced students would be required to be vaccinated against the virus starting the term, following full approval from the Food and Drug Administration for their age group. So the Food and Drug Administration on October 29th issued emergency use authorization for the vaccine for kids ages 5 to 11. 5 is kindergarten. It's the earliest you can really start school. The federal government allocated 1.2 million pediatric doses to California, and on November 3rd, which is our month finally, the state began vaccinating the newest age group. So now every kid can get a vaccination. So based on current information about vaccine authorization, the state expects to require COVID-19 vaccines for grades 7 through 12 starting July 1st. So that's still a ways up. CDPH said it's too early to predict when the state will require vaccines for children 5 to 11. Okay, well, that's not the greatest news for when we're going to be able to take our masks off. Even if schools, they're not going to know till July 12th. Yeah. Noble and Gandhi, not the leader, Gandhi, different Gandhi. In their letter to state leaders, said a clear set of guidelines about when California would ease its masking policy in schools would incentivize parents to vaccinate their kids. So, maybe it could be the same here. Hey, like, if you're vaccinated, you can be in a van full of a lot more people, and we can go on bigger outings. If you choose not to be vaccinated, then unfortunately, you can't. And we'll still take you somewhere, but you're going to have to sit all the way in the back again and have a mask on, and all that stuff. Without clear benefits from vaccination, such as attending school unmasked, many parents of elementary school children feel ambivalent about vaccination and may postpone vaccinating their child until fully mandated several months from now, is what they wrote. So again, several months. And people are still not wanting to get people vaccinated. So this is tough. California is headed into what could be a rough season for COVID-19 infections. And like I said, last winter, this is where the data comes from, cases spiked amid holiday gatherings. Now, even with vaccines widely available, state leaders are worried about the possibility of another winter surge, which I'm worried about too. And mostly because, well, not throwing my family under the bus, but they're not big on this whole vaccination thing, and they're huge. They have tons of kids. And, so even those closest to you sometimes, you don't know. I mean, I love them. It's just, we're on opposite ends of the spectrum with that. Newsom last week called this, so the winter surge, his biggest anxiety is another winter surge. Megan Bacalalupi, I don't know, sorry. We'll just call her Megan. A mom of two and leader of the advocacy group California Parent Power said California isn't in the same situation it was last November. With 66.7% of Californians fully vaccinated, there's less chance of severe cases, she said. It seems like it's an anti-vaccine message to send to say, winter's coming, as if there's no distinction between 2020 and 2021, she said. I don't think that's the point. Yes, more people are vaccinated, but that doesn't mean that we won't have another surge. It won't be as big because more people are vaccinated, but we don't want another surge. That's the whole point. It's not like, oh, well, we were vaccinated, so we don't care about the unvaccinated. No, we got to care about everybody, make sure we're all safe. Some counties, like several in the Bay Area, have set certain benchmarks to meet in order to lift local mask mandates. Marin County, for example, just lifted its mask mandate after local spread fell to what officials defined as a moderate rate. Now residents in Marin County can go maskless inside restaurants, bars, and retail establishments. Well, that's Marin, and it's close to us. But because of the state mandates for all schools, students in Marin will still have to wear masks indoors. For parents, we look at this and we go, if there are off-ramps for adults, why are their kids different? So, based on what we just went over here, it sounds as though our buddy is going to have to stay on for a while longer. And we'll still have to get used to this and stay with this. But eventually, this will come off. And we'll be able to breathe the nice air again. But we want to do it safely. And we want to make sure that when we go out for the holidays, anything like that, that people come back safe. That nobody gets sick. And we don't get anybody sick. Anyway, so this has been a mask update. It seems like July might be the earliest that masks start to come up. But that does not mean that we won't maybe be able to start getting more people into vans and going out to do things together. Anyway, hope you had a great day. This has been Monday. Tomorrow will be Tuesday, and we'll be that much closer to Thanksgiving and eating some wonderful food. Okay, ciao for now.